two generations of bluesmen. Long before this 1988 photo, the Stones hired a then unknown Stevie Ray Vaughan to play a private party in '82. They were so blown away by his talent, they immediately tried to sign him to their own label. The original supergroup Cream in their final year. Their legendary extended jams weren't born from harmony, but from pure conflict. The three members were famously at war, competing and trying to outplay each other in epic, virtuosic duels every night. Stevie Ray and Double Trouble, years before the fame. While his guitar got the headlines, Stevie's secret weapon was his voice. He modeled his raw, powerful singing directly on the great bluesman Bobby Blue Bland, making him a true double threat. In the Lab, 1977. For the Aja sessions, Steely Dan's perfectionism was legendary. To get the guitar solo on Peg just right, they made 7 of the world's top studio guitarists audition before finally finding the one perfect take. Styx in 1979, the year they hit #1 with the ballad Babe. But that massive success was the beginning of the end. The band's rockers hated the song, creating a deep creative rift that would ultimately break up the band at its peak. Los Angeles, 1974. This wasn't the glamorous rock star life just yet. Kiss was a cult act, touring relentlessly with little money to show for it. The band and their label were betting everything on one last gamble, a live album. The ultimate 70s supergroup, Bad Company. In 1974, they became the very first band signed to Led Zeppelin's own label, Swan Song Records. Their debut album was an immediate smash, hitting #1 and making the label a powerhouse overnight. They called her the Queen of Rockabilly, and by '58 she was a powerhouse. Few people know it was her old boyfriend, Elvis Presley, who encouraged her to trade her country sound for the raw energy of rock and roll. By 1973, Mick Jagger was more than a rock star. He was a global style icon. This was the era of goat's head soup, when he fully embraced the decadent high-fashion world of the international jet set and became royalty himself. Steely Dan in 1974. This was the year they made a radical decision. They quit touring for good. Disgusted with life on the road, they became rock's most famous recluses, spending the decade chasing sonic perfection in the studio. This was the house that blues built. Etta James with Leonard and Phil Chess, the masterminds of Chess Records. They weren't fancy producers. They just knew how to capture raw emotion on tape, pushing Etta to create her legendary sound. A rare look at the man under the hat. That iconic top hat wasn't part of a master plan. In 1985, right before a gig, a broke Slash shoplifted it from a store on Melrose. He wore it on stage that night, and a legend was born. Madison Square Garden, 1977. At the peak of Frampton mania, he was the undisputed king of the world. The iconic Phoenix guitar he's holding would be tragically lost in a plane crash, only to be miraculously recovered and returned to him 31 years later. The Kinks, 1965. Just as they were breaking big in the States, the band was banned from touring America for 4 years. The ban was a commercial disaster, but it forced Ray Davies to write more distinctly English songs, turning him into a national treasure. Rush on the tour that made them superstars. The album was moving pictures, and its secret weapon was Geddy Lee's synthesizer. The roaring intro to Tom Sawyer became one of the most iconic keyboard sounds in all of rock history. Two guitar gods and the best of friends. The Gibson Les Paul in George's hands is the legendary Lucy, a gift from Eric. It's the very same guitar that Clapton used to play the iconic, uncredited solo on While My Guitar Gently Weeps. He was just 19 and about to headline the Copacabana. But while Paul Anka prepared for the stage, he was also writing for others, including the English lyrics to a tune that would become Frank Sinatra's lifelong anthem, My Way. The three voices that ruled 70s radio. The band's strange name came from a story about Australian Aborigines who would sleep with dogs for warmth. A freezing three-dog night was the coldest night imaginable. The human riff himself. The secret to the Stones' sound is in his hands. A 5-string Telecaster in an open G tuning. This unconventional setup, born from his deep love of the blues, is the engine behind the band's greatest riffs. The legendary Bon Scott in '74, during AC/DC's very first year. He had just joined the band, thinking his own career was over after a bad motorcycle crash. This was the beginning of his second chance and his journey into rock immortality. A backstage summit of guitar slingers. In 1984, these three masters were at a crossroads. Dickie Betts was on hiatus from the Allman Brothers, Johnny Winter was having a major career revival, and Brian Setzer was leading the rockabilly revolution. The undisputed kings of British glam rock. In the early 70s, Slade was the biggest band in England. Their 1973 hit, Merry Xmas Everybody, is so beloved, it has re-entered the British charts every single Christmas for over 50 years. More than just a concert, this was history. East Berlin, 1988. Bruce Springsteen told 300,000 fans, "I hope that one day all barriers will be torn down." Just 16 months later, the Berlin Wall fell. Rock and roll as revolution. The heart of rock and roll. After years of theatrical excess, the Stones' '78 tour was a raw, back-to-basics affair. They played smaller arenas, stripping away the spectacle to reconnect with the fans, one sweat-soaked show at a time. Behind Fats, Domino's easygoing charm was a true architect of rock and roll. His 1949 record, The Fat Man, is arguably the very first of its kind. It's no wonder Elvis Presley himself would later call Fats the real king. Iron Maiden during their colossal World Slavery Tour in 1984. The blindfolds were a nod to the lyrics of 2 Minutes to Midnight. This record-breaking tour was so massive and grueling, it nearly destroyed the band, but it also made them legends. Thin Lizzy in their power trio phase. Their iconic logo was created by famed Irish artist Jim Fitzpatrick. His unique Celtic-inspired design perfectly captured the blend of mythology and hard rock soul that defined Phil Lynnett's legendary band. Paul McCartney's post-Beatles supergroup, Wings. But he started it from the ground up. On their first tour, they drove around Britain in a van, showing up at universities unannounced and playing for whatever cash they could collect at the door. Rio Speedwagon, rulers of the airwaves. But years earlier, frontman Kevin Cronin had actually been kicked out of the band. He rejoined in '76, and his talent for writing the power ballads is what finally turned them into superstars. A meeting of two champions. Elton John and tennis legend Billie Jean King were dear friends. In fact, Elton wrote his #1 smash hit, Philadelphia Freedom, as a personal tribute to her and her professional tennis team, the Philadelphia Freedoms. The birth of a dynasty. This is the first photo of Fleetwood Mac's legendary classic lineup. Mick Fleetwood hired Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks without an audition, after hearing just one of their songs by chance while testing out a studio. Backstage in 1970, the year the legendary Mark II lineup of Deep Purple changed everything. They consciously abandoned their old sound, creating the revolutionary hard rock of the In Rock album and forging the template for an entire genre. A young Peter Gabriel, pre-Genesis. The band was still in high school when they were discovered by a pop producer who pushed them in a Bee Gees direction for their debut. It was a flop they would have to overcome to find their true sound. A very early ELO co-founder Roy Wood, seated, quit the band right after this photo. His departure left Jeff Lynne in sole control, free to perfect his vision of a rock band with a massive, orchestral, Beatles-esque sound. Backstage at Monterey Pop, 1967. The legendary rivalry between The Who and the Hendrix Experience over who would close the show that night led to Pete Townshend smashing his guitar to pieces, and Hendrix responding by setting his on fire. A moment of levity between Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins in 1974. This was during the Grueling tour for The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which would be Gabriel's last. He had already secretly made the decision to leave the band that made him famous. The Police conquer New York, but just a year earlier, they were unknowns, driving themselves across America in a beat-up van and playing to empty rooms. Theirs was a fast, hard climb from the bottom straight to the very top. The infamous Beggar's Banquet food fight of 1968. This wasn't just chaos, it was a calculated publicity stunt. Furious that their label had censored the album's cover, Mick Jagger himself started the food fight as the ultimate act of defiance. This is the classic Thin Lizzy lineup, just as they were perfecting their iconic sound. The twin guitar attack from Scott Gorham and Brian Robertson was a happy accident in rehearsals that Phil Lynott turned into their legendary, world-conquering signature. George Harrison in San Francisco, August 1967. He came to the Haight-Ashbury district seeking a spiritual awakening, but was quickly disillusioned by the scene. This visit solidified his belief that true enlightenment came from within, not from the hippie movement. The photo that defined punk rock. This shot for their debut album wasn't the first idea. The band rejected an earlier, sillier photo shoot, opting for this gritty, street-level image that perfectly matched their revolutionary sound. 4 brothers against the world. 2 counterculture legends. Neil Young with Dennis Hopper on the set of Hopper's bizarre film, The Last Movie. Fresh off the success of Easy Rider, Hopper's follow-up was a famously chaotic production and a colossal flop that nearly ended his directing career. the twin titans of Zeppelin in a quiet moment. This wasn't just a casual read for Jimmy Page. His deep obsession with astrology and the occult was the source of the band's powerful mystique, from the famous Zoso symbols to his legendary Boleskine house. 1958, and the Everly Brothers are on top of the world. Strapped to their backs are those iconic Gibson J200 acoustic guitars, the source of a signature harmony sound that would directly inspire the Beatles, Simon and Garfunkel, and countless others. They were the Rockin' Vickers, a wild beat group from Blackpool. While they never had a major hit, their guitarist would become a rock god, a young Ian Kilmister, better known to the world as Lemmy, from the legendary band Motorhead. Pink Floyd on stage. The strange box on the keyboard is a Benson Echo Rec. This notoriously unreliable Italian-made echo machine was the secret weapon behind the band's signature spacey and atmospheric sound on their early classic albums.